Hello, it is Friday the 16th of January 2026. My name is Katie and these are your news headlines. 8 nurses from Darlington Memorial Hospital have won their harassment and sex discrimination claim against County Durham and Darlington NHS Foundation Trust. Their case centred on being required to share the women's changing room with a transgender colleague, Rose Henderson. The nurses said this violated their dignity and created a hostile, intimidating and humiliating environment. They also alleged inappropriate behaviour in the changing room, which Rose denied, saying the public reaction to the case has been deeply upsetting. The tribunal didn't find that Rose harassed or victimised anyone. Instead, it ruled that the trust had harassed the women by allowing the arrangement to continue, dismissing their concerns and offering only inadequate alternative facilities. Judge Seamus Sweeney said the trust's actions breached workplace regulations and the Women's Article 8 right to privacy. Bethany Hutchinson, who led the claim, called the ruling a victory for every woman who simply wants to feel safe at work. The NHS Trust says it is reviewing the judgment. Support honest journalism. Make sure you like, leave a comment and subscribe. No bias, no bullshit, only the facts. There has been an extraordinary moment in Washington where Venezuelan opposition leader Maria Corina Machado, says she has gifted her Nobel Peace Prize medal to President Donald Trump after the removal of Nicolas Maduro. Machado compared the gesture to the Marquis de Lafayette giving Simeon Bolivar a medal bearing George Washington's image, something Bolivar reportedly kept for life. She has long credited Trump with supporting Venezuela's push for political change and even dedicated her Nobel win to him. But the Norwegian Nobel Committee has pushed back firmly, stressing that while a medal can physically change hands, the title of Nobel laureate cannot be transferred, revoked or shared. The committee reiterated that its decisions stand for all time. Israel's Prime Minister has poured cold water on the White House's announcement that Phase 2 of Donald Trump's 20-point Gaza peace plan has begun. The next stage is meant to see a committee of Palestinian technocrats form an interim government to oversee Gaza's transition. But Hamas has not yet surrendered its weapons, something it agreed to with Israel in October, but that failure is already stalling progress. Benjamin Netanyahu said the launch of Phase 2 was a declarative move rather than genuine progress, contradicting the optimism expressed earlier this week by Trump's Middle East envoy Steve Witkoff. Netanyahu made the comments while visiting the parents of Ron Gvili, a police sergeant murdered on October 7 and abducted into Gaza. His remains are the only ones Hamas has not yet returned, despite agreeing to do so in Phase 1. Apparently, the US has privately said this failure will block the start of Phase 2, a position that has angered Israel. Meanwhile, negotiations on Gaza's future are underway in Egypt. Hamas says it is willing to cede power but not to give up all its weapons until a future Palestinian state is established, fueling Israeli fears the group will continue to govern the strip behind the scenes. On the ground, most of Gaza's population is still living in tents after the devastation since October 7, 2023. Many residents say they want tangible improvements such as food, fuel, medical access, rather than political announcements. Back in the UK, a former police inspector has been given a suspended prison sentence after hundreds of indecent images and videos of children were found on his phones. Ian Walpole, 43, was arrested in July 2025 after a Police Scotland investigation into another offender uncovered videos sent to a contact saved as Ian. Officers later found 246 illegal files across 2 phones, including dozens of Category A images and videos. Category A is the worst of the worst. Walpole, who served 21 years with Humberside Police, pleaded guilty to 3 counts of making indecent photographs of children. Walpole received a 6-month sentence, which has been suspended for 21 months, along with rehabilitation days, unpaid work, and a sexual harm prevention order. If you want clear reporting you can trust, like, comment and subscribe. No bias, no bullshit, just the news you need. In South Wales, a teenager who idolised the Southport killer has been detained for 14 months after planning violent attacks, including one targeting the first Oasis reunion concert in Cardiff. Mackenzie Morgan, now 18, admitted possessing a document useful for terrorism after police discovered he had the 188-page Al-Qaeda training manual on his phone, the same document found in the Southport killer's possession. Morgan had researched knives, mapped routes to the Dance Stars Academy near his home, discussed attacking his own school, and told others on Snapchat he intended to strike the Oasis concert on July the 4th. His family became concerned and booked him in with a counsellor, during which he said he planned to commit a Ruda Cubana-style attack, prompting police intervention. Judge Sarah Whitehouse KC said Morgan was vulnerable to being bullied, groomed and radicalised, imposing youth detention followed by a year on licence. Over the pond, in what feels like something from the Twilight Zone, California Governor Gavin Newsom appeared to distance himself from his own press team's language during a tense interview with commentator Ben Shapiro. Shapiro confronted him about his office describing the fatal shooting of Renee Good by an ICE officer as state-sponsored terrorism. Newsom conceded that the language was inappropriate and said he disagreed with calls to abolish ICE. These comments quickly went viral. The interview then turned to gender identity, where Newsom avoided giving a direct yes or no answer to whether biological sex can be changed. Shapiro argued that stating boys cannot become girls is not bigotry but biological simplicity. Newsom said the issue is surrounded by hate and condemnation, and declined to give an answer. The two also clashed over taxes, foreign policy, and Newsom's warnings that President Trump may attempt another run in 2028. In Utah, the man accused of killing conservative activist Charlie Kirk is back in court as his legal team tries to have prosecutors removed from the case. Tyler Robinson, 22, is charged with aggravated murder in the September 10th shooting at Utah Valley University. Prosecutors plan to seek the death penalty if he is convicted. The defence argues a conflict of interest because the 18-year-old child of a deputy county attorney attended the rally where Kirk was shot and later texted their father about the chaos. Prosecutors say the child is neither a witness nor a victim and that the claim is unfounded. Court filings say text messages and DNA evidence link Robinson to the killing and that he told his transferee romantic partner that he targeted Kirk because he had had enough of his hatred. A preliminary hearing is set for May 18th. Reproductive rights advocates say they have dropped their lawsuit against the Trump administration after officials agreed to restore $27.5 million in paused Title X family planning grants. The American Civil Liberties Union sued last year after the Department of Health and Human Services halted funding to 16 organisations, including Planned Parenthood affiliates, while it investigated compliance with federal civil rights laws. In December, HHS said the groups had demonstrated compliance and reminded them not to engage in unlawful discrimination related to diversity, equity or inclusion. The ACLU then voluntarily dismissed the case. And finally, a Senate hearing on abortion pills went viral after an OB-GYN, what we call a gynecologist, repeatedly declined to answer a direct question about whether men can get pregnant. Dr. Nisha Verma, a senior advisor to Physicians for Reproductive Health, was pressed first by Senator Ashley Moody and then repeatedly by Senator Josh Hawley. Verma said she treats patients with different identities and argued that yes or no questions of this kind are a political tool. Hawley pushed back, saying he was trying to establish a biological reality, eventually stating, "For the record, it's women who get pregnant, not men." The exchange took place during a Senate Help Committee hearing on the safety of abortion pills against the backdrop of ongoing disputes over a drug I can't pronounce, now under review by Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and FDA Commissioner Marty Makary. If my gynecologist doesn't know that it's women that get pregnant, not men, I'm going to find a new gynecologist. But anywho, those are your news headlines for today, Friday, 16th January 2026. Thank you for listening, and please remember to subscribe, like and comment. Come find me on all the social medias, and I'll see you in the next one. Don't miss the next bulletin. Subscribe, like and comment today. No bias, no bullshit, just straight reporting.